Well, here we are, North Conway, New Hampshire. I'm John Lyscars, coming up here for a visit from Hooksett, Kiwanis, and we're here to meet Ryan Sommer today. Ryan is the director, is that right, Ryan?
That is correct.
The director of the North Conway Community Center. We're interested from Kiwanis' perspective because we're engaging community folks from around the New Hampshire state about how they put in their Splashpad, what they like, dislike about it. So that's what I'm here to learn from Ryan. But we're also going to do a little fact-finding mission for the town of Hooksett. We're going to learn more about Ryan's community center, more about his position as a director and what that involves, and hopefully we'll learn a lot of good stuff and be able to bring that back to Hooksett today. All right, so Ryan's up next. So again, we're here in North Conway. This is Ryan Sommer, and Ryan is the director here at the North Conway Community Center. And so, Ryan, why don't you tell us first about your position here, what kind of things you manage, your budget, and those kind of things, and then talk about the community center itself.
Sure. So I'm what we call the executive director of the North Conway Community Center. We are a nonprofit 501c3. We do go on the warrant article for the town of Conway. The town of Conway itself has a recreation department. So really, when you're looking at my organization today, I'm like the Boys and Girls Club of America, or the YMCA. So for every dollar that the town gives us, we make $3 to $4 depending on what our budget requires and so forth. I've been the director here for about 15 years, been in the organization or in recreation for about 22 now. Started off as an assistant director and then kind of came up here as a director.
So Ryan, do you have any additional staff that helps you out?
We do. So we have a full-time assistant director, and then I have two part-time personnel as well. The hour of operation for us is 8 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays from 11 to 5. We have adult programs that begin at 7 at night. So really the facility is open from 8 o'clock in the morning to about 9:30 at night, Monday through Friday.
So what made you, if you know the history, go to a 501c3 type of a setup versus just managed by the town directly?
So the community center itself went from that philosophy. It was always set up that way. So the community center of North Conway was set up through a nonprofit or through the water precinct back in 1958. And then from there, even Conway was set up that way. The land that we sit on was donated to the North Conway Community Center. And the philosophy was if they lost the land, if the community center became something other than a nonprofit, the land would go back to the rightful heir. So that way, community centers always stayed under the nonprofit 501c3. The benefits for that, you can apply for a lot more grants, a lot more funding. You know, we do annual appeals. So our budget, one of the questions you asked was our budget is about $225,000 to $240,000. That operates all my staff. We do summer camps. We do programs for town. We open up the facility to anybody who wants to utilize it. But really our budget is about $225,000. We ask $65,000 from the town, which gives us the operating budget. Then everything else comes through grants, donations, program fees, rental fees, and some other fees, but really that's pretty much it. So for us, our program fees top out about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. We rent the facility and the space on the facility to some about $35,000. I probably on a given year, probably about $20,000 in grants, and most of my grants go to special things. Tree prunings, buying equipment, getting T-shirts. It doesn't go through my operating budget directly, but it does by what you ask for.
Ryan, what's the square footage of your community center?
Our community center is 10,000 square feet, just under 9,984 square feet. This facility was built solely on grants and donations, not on taxpayers' backs. For us, what it has in it, it has a regulation-sized middle school court, so my gymnasium is about 5,000 square feet. We have a weight room in it, a conference room, a multi-purpose room. We have a game room, and then public bathrooms, as well as a kitchen. You know, so for us, it's what this facility needed. We didn't expand, we didn't build for the future, but at the same time, I left a facility that was 2,400 square feet to build this facility at about almost 10,000 square feet.
So today, if somebody gave you a pile of money and said it's yours, build what you want, what would you add on to your community center?
For me, what I would add on is storage. And I knew that going in when we built this facility. That was the biggest issue we were going to have a headache on. You know, again, through our conversation a few minutes ago, conversation about having a pool. A pool for municipalities and even nonprofits is they change your philosophy. You know, like most municipalities, you want to open up the space to anybody who wants to use it, to anybody and everybody. But once you put a pool in, you really become a fee base. You become a membership base to make sure that you generate enough money for the pool to operate it, because the pool's about $250,000 to $300,000 a year to maintain it, to operate it, chemicals, staffing, and so forth and so forth. I think, again, what you're on the best track is to have splash pads for two reasons. You don't need to staff it. You know, it's not something, well, that's one of your questions, but you don't need to have somebody there 24/7 to watch it. We'll go over that while we go out there. You know, pools just, they're liability issues that most people don't want to touch anymore.
So Ryan, the facility you have here, how much did it cost, you know, from beginning to end to put this facility up?
So this facility cost us about $1.4 million. We had the land associated with the associated with the community center already, so we didn't have to go out and purchase land. So we literally, you know, 1.4. I can tell you, we made sure that we took care of some issues that was going to be long term. So everything's insulated much better than what required, because we didn't want a big heating cost. Everything's lit through LED lighting. Again, we wanted to make sure we kept our electrical costs in check. So, you know, when I talked about my old facility at 2,400 square feet to this 10,000 square foot facility, it cost me less money to heat this facility today than it did the old facility. We're running about the same electrical price because of, again, what we're doing for lighting and so forth. So we probably spent a little bit more money on the insulation side of it, with the idea that long term it was going to benefit us over the long term process.
So let me ask you a couple questions about your job specifically, because the town is in the process of looking for an athletic director. But again, we're talking about one that would actually work for the town of Hooksett, be paid by the town of Hooksett. Is that what your position is? Is it paid by the town, or is it paid by the nonprofit?
It's paid by the nonprofit. So the way we are set up, I have a governing board of 12 who are volunteers, who are actually my bosses, who, you know, like any other boards, you have your standards presidents, vice presidents, and so forth. And you take a cross-pollination of what your community is about. So I have some people who are adults, some people who have kids in the program, and some people who kind of just want to be a part of something special. So you don't have just one group just sitting here saying, we're just going to do youth programs. Because again, a community center in the community is not just about the youth, even though a lot of places now begin to think that. You have to build, if you're going to do this, in my opinion, when you do it right, you have to make sure that you do across all generations of your
Sure.
community. So you want to have programs that are going to be for seniors, for adults, for youth. You know, you want to make sure, and you want to combine them at the same time, because again, I think it's important for the youth to see the older people in the community to interact, and again, my opinion, that's how you build a community itself.
So one of the things, I've been on a committee, I attended a committee the other day that they're talking about the director position and the specifics of it, and they actually have a job posting. The thing they struggled with the most is, what is the salary range for somebody, if they want to attract somebody that is experienced, that can, you know, take the ball and run with it right away, with just directing programs without any community center. What would you give us some advice on what a good salary range you think would be competitive in the industry?
So Hooksett, you're pretty much in southern New Hampshire?
Southern New Hampshire, yeah.
Realistically, you're pulling from Portsmouth, you're pulling from the Boston area. If you want a realistic goal, 50 to 65.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah, with benefits.
With benefits.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. All right, Ryan, so this is good stuff, good information for Hooksett. Now we want to talk a little bit about the Splashpad, if you don't mind. Get down into what you know about the history of it, what were some of the decisions they had to make, and any kind of pitfalls or roadblocks they ran into while they were making the Splashpad.
So the Splashpad was put in before I got here, so I'll go after a lot of the information that I've gathered over the years. So prior to the splash pad being in, we had a wading pool. And a wading pool is about 10 inches, 12 inches deep. Back in those days, I'm not sure how sanitary it was. And it was one of those things where they decided that it was not in the best interest. And again, because anything over really 6, 8, 10 inches deep, you have the drowning incidents, people aren't paying attention, it was little kids and so forth. So they decided to go down this way of doing a splash pad. Now I can tell you the community center lucked out because we have a good rapport with the North Conway Water Precinct. They are the ones who installed it for us. So when it comes to installation and cost, I'm going to tell you roughly what the splash pad is going to cost you today. It's probably going to be about $25,000 to $30,000 to put it in. It was free for the center. All the water's free for the center. So most splash pads that I'm aware of that's being put in today, private and for public use, they're built on a chlorinated system. So they're built on a single flow, just like a swimming pool, just regurgitating itself out. We are extremely different in that regards. Our water is fresh coming out of the tubes every day. You know, it is not circulated at all. It goes right back in the ground, gets pumped right back into the Sauk River, and we move on, and we just kind of keep that rotation going. Our water is also donated from the water precinct. For a prime example, what you're going to use, we pump about what we classify as what 10 homes we use in the summertime, we burn through in a day. Don't ask me how many gallons, because I'm sure it's quite a bit. But that's what we utilize it for. Again, it's being donated by the water precinct, and we luck out in that regard. You know, so when the chemical wise, you know, you're going to obviously highly over chlorinate just because of what you're going to have in it. People are going to use it, but at the same time, it's probably more effective than what my system is. But it's going to cost you more money than what I pay.
So basically, if I'm an environmentalist, I'm going to say to you, Ryan, you're wasting water. What do you say to that?
I say it's going right back into the Sauk River. So where we're getting the water, literally the Sauk River is about 500 yards, maybe 1,000 yards that way. It just filtrates right back into the Sauk River. For us, it's just how it goes. You know, at one point we thought about utilizing it and bringing some tanks down and using it for irrigation, and then slowly trickling back into that way. But the problem is because we were using so much water that we had to filtrate it to a different scenario. So we have catch basin wells, dry wells with a bunch of sand, filtrates it out, and it just pumps right back into the Sauk River. So yes, we are, but at the same time, it's going right back to where we got it from. So, you know, it's really a no-pull solution.
Right, and the beauty to that is you don't have to treat your water, right? You don't have to check it multiple times a day. You don't have to treat it, chlorinate it, and all that, because you're getting it fresh from the water division of your town.
Correct. So it's no different than drinking water.
Sure.
So you're taking a shower, it's really how it's going to be utilized. You know, so again, it's going to cost you less money because you're not running through a pumping system and so forth. You're just firing out of a 6-inch main and off you go.
That's actually a great idea. We hadn't thought of that. So again, another good reason for visiting other communities and seeing what they've done, getting different ideas before we actually commit to our project and build it. So thank you for that. Anything else you want to tell us about the splash pad?
You know, I can say the one biggest pitfall that you're going to see, a lot of people do it, a lot of splash pads are built on concrete. Great idea until concrete gets wet. Just like a swimming pool, they become slippery. You can put 50 million signs up around your facility, around your splash pad says, do not run. And I'm going to be honest with you, parents don't read it, kids don't care. You know, so really, when you build this, I'm going to tell you to spend the extra money and put down a rubber pad. They buy rubber paddings. It makes it soft. They kind of bounce a little bit to give you a little more pliability. You don't worry about the kid falling. More than I do. Eventually, we'll get there. It's a costly investment, but I'm going to tell you, if you can do this from scratch, spend the extra money and put the rubber padding in.
So does the rubber pad prevent anything like wheelchair accessibility?
It does not.
It does not.
No,
Okay.
it's still handicap accessible. Still meets the ADA compliance. All it does really just gives you a little bit softer padding to land on.
Do you happen to know how often you got to change those pads out?
I don't.
Don't. Okay.
I don't. My guess is you're probably looking at 20 years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
They got some good longevity, but you can look into that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know if you cover those in the wintertime?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Just leave them right out.
Because the water's going to circulate through it anyway. So.
Sure. Okay. All right, anything else on the splash pad?
You know, those are your... So you had one of the questions you gave me. The thing was hours of operation. So our splash pad is built on a timer. We have a 15-minute run time. The splash pad stays open 24/7. We don't tell people that, but dusk to dawn.
You just did.
You did, yeah. But you done Hooksett. Or you come up here, it's open if you want to come in the middle of the night. But it's on a timer. You want to make sure you do time, so you're not wasting water.
Right.
You know, prior to about 5 years ago, we turned it on at 10 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock in the morning. We turned it off at 7 o'clock at night, regardless of there were people there or not. It just was a constant run.
Sure.
Through the water precinct, again, trying to conserve some of the water from using it all. We put it on a run time. Works much better.
Is it on motion sensors as well?
Nope. So you have to physically turn the dial, just like you would if you had a hot lamp in your house.
Yep.
It's just turn the dial. 15-minute runs. It dials itself out. If you want to continue, the kids just got to walk back over and turn the dial again.
Gotcha.
It's a good use of again, conserving the water, but again, you're not wasting electricity. You're not wasting water. You know, on a freezing day, you know, we didn't shut our water off until a week ago. So as the weather that we've enjoyed so much in October, it allowed us to extend our season. So for us, our season was mid-June when kids got out of school through roughly Labor Day. Once we put it on a timer and we knew we weren't going to waste water, we still opened about mid-June, but as the season seems to get warmer and warmer and down later farther, we've kind of pushed off the close dates, so it allows us to stay open longer and so forth.
So realistically, a water pad, I mean, with the first thing I think of with the splash pad is that it attracts kids, but do you see the elderly use it at all?
I don't.
You don't? I
don't. So you're going to attract families. It's really what it's going towards. You know, the grandparents or the elderly will come over and watch the kids utilize it. Mm-hmm. You know, if they have grandkids and stuff like that, it might give them a visual and just kind of sit down for a few minutes and watch. But really, your attention is you're looking for 6-month-old to 15, 16. Mm-hmm. You know, and from there you'll have the parents that would get in and have some fun with the kids as well. But
sure,
you know, that's really your target age group at this point.
Okay. Mark, that's my son Mark. Ryan, we hit you with some questions ahead of time, gave you a little chance to prepare. Anything you want to tell us about the operations of the splash pad?
Sure. So the operation, you've gained about 15 questions, so we'll go over them real quick. So my dimensions of my splash pad is 24 feet wide, long, and about 18 feet wide. You know, again, the bigger the splash pad, the more water you're going to use, the more systems you need to put in it. My splash pad comes everything. We have jets coming out from the ground. You have some splash pads that have buckets that dump, depending on how extravagant you want to get into. So mine's a very basic splash pad that we have 6 jets around the sides, various heights, and then we have one big jet coming out of the middle that comes through a screen that kind of disperses the water, so it gives you a little bit of a nice simple splash coming out of it.
How about for what do you have for seating, Mark, around the splash pad for the parents and the grandparents?
So we have a couple benches out there. We bring a couple picnic tables there. If you take a quick span over there, you can see it sitting on top of my splash pad now. You know, so we have most of my parents will sit on the grass on a nice day, bring a beach towel. You know, they come over, they have picnics and things of that nature. So by having it next to the playground, it's really a win-win. So they do both. On a hot day, the splash pad keeps people around longer, as most playgrounds would get a little bit warm over the hot days.
So if you had all the money in the world, do you think it would be good to put in like a bench, I don't know if it's granite bench or stone, something where the people sit in there could actually maybe get their feet wet? Would that go over well in the summertime?
It would, I think. I'd go probably more of a concrete or a granite bench. You know, the parents will like it to put their feet in it. You know, you'll get utilized by some, and some people would just kind of stay away from it.
Sure.
But it'd be a nice aspect to have, to let the parents get their feet wet and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That you can move around. You know, for our splash pads, again, we're open Monday through Sunday. So Saturday through Sunday. We're open, for the most part, 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, especially during the hot months. But again, as I said earlier, we're open 24 hours, as most people don't know that the dial doesn't work that way. For us, you asked how many people we staff for the splash pad. None. You know, really, it's use it at your own risk. Here's the issue when you start staffing things. As soon as you put staff out there, you become reliable for it. So right now, if somebody runs up, I have signs that will take you and liability issues away. You still gonna get sued in everything you do, don't get me wrong. But if as soon as you staff it, now it becomes your responsibility and why the kid didn't stop running, and not the parent's responsibility. You know what this for us, the philosophy's always been, we let parents parents. You know, we govern things, but we let parents parents. But I also tell you, when you look at it, when I say I don't staff it, the splash pad is right outside my window, so if there is an issue, I can make sure that I can take care of it at that moment. For the age limits, it's open to anybody. There is no age limit. If somebody wants a 6-month-old wants to crawl through it, perfect. 98-year-old wants to crawl through it, perfect. It's open to anybody and everybody. And being, for us, you asked about, is it restricted just for the community residents? Absolutely not. North Conway is a tourist town. For us, we have about 1,000 people that will walk to my playground on a daily basis. So it's open to anybody and everybody, free of charge, just like our playgrounds. You know, and again, it's one of those things where, for me to walk out there and say, "You from North Conway?" or "You from," it's not worth the headache. But again, you want things to attract not just residents but tourists to come to spend money in your community. You know, we have fathers and kids that will stay, and the moms will go shopping. You know, it's a great place for people to just come and relax, enjoy time with each other. You know, again, being a rec director, that's what recreation is all about. It's about building community environment.
I really like your philosophy. It's something, to be honest with you, that we hadn't really considered. We were talking about staffing it. We were talking about free passes for residents and paying for non-residents. But I hear definitely what you're saying. It creates a lot more liability issues. It also creates a lot of overhead and another added expense. You know,
Absolutely.
so there's a lot of things you guys have done with your pad that have really reduced expenses between not having to maintain the water system yourself, not having it having it open to the public. I mean, those are really great ideas for keeping the ongoing costs down.
Yes, and that's what you're looking for. You know, again, you can overmanage and organize something to the point of it becomes not fiscally responsible anymore. And you know, if you have a staff out there, 10 hours a day, $10 an hour, you know, the cost really just magnifies.
Sure.
But more importantly, you know, now you're on the hook for everything.
Right.
You know, and again, you take away the responsibility of parents by sitting there saying, because at that point they're going to let you do the work and you be the bad guy.
Right.
You know, obviously signage is huge. You want to make sure you have signage on it to take that liability away from you. But again, it's something that I feel strongly on, that charging people for something that is public use is tough to do. It really is.
And I think your idea earlier, your suggestion about having a rubber pad, if you think of it philosophically, you're taking the money you would have spent on having lifeguards, let's call them, and the added expense of chlorinating your water and testing it, all that expense can go in the upfront cost of putting in a nice rubber pad.
Correct.
So you're really looking out for the public safety, and you're doing it with money you would have spent to maintain the existence of the splash pad in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
For us, our splash pad is not used in the wintertime. We shut it down. We drain it. Again, we still work well with the water precinct. They come in, they unhook the pipes, completely drain the system for me, and then they hook it back up in the spring.
Have you had any trouble with freezing pipes at all?
None.
Nothing.
None.
So as long as you drain it well.
Yep, so my initial pipes are still 6 feet below the ground. I have a manhole out there. They climb in the manhole. Everything back drains into the manhole, and then from there we're good. We've never had an issue.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you have a good rapport. I'm assuming you guys have a water precinct down there.
Yep.
You know, and kind of team up with them a little bit. I'm assuming that's town run. So again, you know, it's one of those things where the town should work together.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Yeah.
We're actually bringing the proposal to the town council this week.
Yep.
And we want to basically maintain a partnership with the town. This is a Hooksett Kiwanis project, signature project for us, but we basically want to give it in to the town when we're done.
Okay.
And put it into good hands and like I said, we're looking at costs and everything associated with it to the taxpayer. So anything we can do to fundraise and defer any of those costs, we're definitely going to do.
Are you going to put it in a playground setting like you have out here? So would there be a playground next to it?
Well, there's actually there's 3 potential spots right now we're looking at. One is an existing playground / ball field area.
Okay.
The problem with it is it's already overcrowded. There's limited parking, and so we'd have to extend the parking lot and do some, play some tricks to really make it a feasible place for a splash pad. But it may be where it ends up. But we're doing a lot of research in the front end so that when we do choose a place, we choose it and everybody's happy with the place we do choose together.
Yep.
If we start wrapping this around a community center at the same time, there's definitely not enough room in that one location. So depending on what the town wants to do, if they want to do a community center at the same time we're doing the splash pad, I think that's going to basically tell us where we can put the facility.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are ongoing decisions right now.
Nice. So for us, again, I'll go back to your operations and maintenance costs. The operation cost is 0. We absolutely spend very little money. What we do on a yearly basis is right now we put down some what's called black magic on the concrete, give it a little more of a sandpaper feel, so it doesn't become as slippery. Put a couple poly other things on top of that, so it really becomes again, more of a sandpaper feel to try to reduce the slippiness of it. If you go, again, I would be the first one to tell you strongly go with the rubber pad by start squint. I think if these guys had to do it all over again, 17, 18 years ago, they would have gone that route.
Do you know if there's any maintenance with that rubber pad?
If you're going to go fresh water, just constantly blowing it, nope, because no different than anything else. You might have to power wash it at the end of the year.
Yeah. And tell me again, does your water precinct donate the water, did you say?
They do.
They do, okay.
They do. They donate all the water. They write it off.
Okay.
They just have to calculate it, so when they go to my meter, we run 2 different meters. One for the facility and then one for the splash pad itself.
Okay.
So that way they can just write off the hours or the water things.
Okay.
We've had some accidents, like anything else with water. Nothing, more scrapes from kids do fall on concrete, like everything else. Nothing of majorness. You can see out there, there'll be days where we'll have my summer camp out there utilizing it. So you have 30 kids on that splash pad, just having a good time. And it's really, for the most part, again, how we maintain and how we organize it is parents do a nice job watching their kids.
Yep.
But you're always going to get some scratches, some scratch and bumps as kids fall. We have Band-Aids here, and we take care of it in that regards.
So with, one of the questions we have is if this is built without a community center, is the idea of having a changing room / bathrooms for the kids. Is that what, since yours is built right next to your community center, I take it your community center has changing facilities and a bathroom?
We just have bathrooms.
Just bathrooms?
Yep. Again, when we built this facility a couple years ago, it was during the Jerry Sandusky days, and I didn't want anything of that nature. I didn't want that here. So we do have public bathrooms. Changing tables on for infants and stuff like that, but we don't have dedicated changing rooms for people to come over. You'll see here most people come over and not realize there's a splash pad in town. They'll go in their shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And again, that takes away from, by going with constant water flow. You're not worried about soap getting in the system. You're not worried about a lot of these things where if somebody comes up on your town and says, "Oh wow, they got a splash pad, but I didn't bring anything." Well, go ahead and go get wet. You take away some of those headaches.
Sure.
That will clog up a system down the road and so forth. If you have a little shop there and you do want to staff it in the sense of that, have somebody sell towels, because again, people are going to show up without towels.
Right.
People are going to show up. Have them sell some suntan lotion. Almost make it like almost like a little store.
Sure.
If you're going to put somebody there, you might as well make a little bit of money off of it.
So Mark, why don't you just tell me about the difference between your position and the one that the town has for a director?
Sure. So obviously we're the 501c3. The town has their own recreation department. North Conway is the village of Conway, so it doesn't matter where you live at that point. All your taxes go into the same base. For Conway, how they do it is everything's on a tax base. So regardless of program fees and so forth, their taxes or their budget's completely covered on by the taxpayers of the town. So their budget's about $350,000 or so, solely again covered on through the tax base of the organization of the town. They maintain roughly the same people as we do. They have a director, they have an assistant director, they have a couple part-timers as well. The one difference between us and them is their parks are maintained through the town, but that's a separate category. So their recreation side is $315,000, and I believe their park budget is about $150,000 on top of that. For us, you know, again, we get subsidized from the town, a very small proportion, where it's up to us to go generate the funds. You know, so really, again, a prime example was if this facility had to be built by the town, which they're trying to do, down in their neck of the woods, I don't know if it would have ever been built. For me, it's, for the community center, it's if you can fund it, you can build it. You know, so
and roughly
really,
what was the cost again?
the cost of this facility is roughly about
Okay.
$1.4 million. You know, in the town, you know, they can, if they're looking again, if you're looking to build a facility, you can bond it. But for us, it was one of those things where we didn't want to go down that road. This facility would be paid off December of this year, scot-free. Again, we didn't raise taxes on to build this facility. More importantly, what we did with this facility is we've reduced our request from the town by about $15,000 because I'm able to generate more funds on this facility and rentals and so forth.
What's your main revenue source for the community center?
So our biggest three, obviously, we get $65,000 from the town. We have program fees on all the programs, and we still charge adults some program fees. But when we say we charge them, I charge them $2 to play basketball for a night. I charge them $2 to play pickleball. Again, you don't want to put a huge amount of fees. Parents will spend an ungodly amount of money on their kids. When it comes to themselves, they struggle a little bit. So you want to keep it cheap for them. So my program, so we get $65,000 from the town. Program fees about $55,000, and then rental fee.
All right, so we had a little battery recharge misfunction there. So we're going to get back on the difference between your job and the one that the town runs, their rec department.
You know, and through our conversation that we've had, you know, the town, again, strictly done primarily on taxes. You know, roughly the same size budget or same size department. But the difference, I think, between the two of us is how we go about it. You know, I think as recreation departments kind of hang around and they work, you know, they get complacent. They don't strive to reach out for the new ideas and to continue to move the department forward. And, you know, once they find something that works, you know, they kind of sit back on their morals on the low and just kind of sit there and say, well, I did the most I could and everything looks great, and they're moving forward. Where, again, being a nonprofit, and I've done both. I've worked in municipality. I've worked as nonprofit directors. I'm more of a fan of the nonprofits. And the reason why is you take away some of the conversations of, you know, I want to do this or I want to do that. And, you know, you wonder if the taxpayers are going to support you and so forth. And versus a nonprofit where the mentality is, if you can fund it, you can do it. You know, obviously we have some tax base that approves what we do every year. But again, it's one of those things where 25% of my budget's on them, 75% of my budget is going out and providing new programs, meeting the people in the community, making connections, having people support it outside of just a tax base where the businesses will support it, or going out and getting grants, or running programs that are self-sufficient, which really, in my opinion, recreation should be utilized by all, but if you can financially afford it, you should have to pay for it. You know, so you don't want to build a program that somebody who is 95 years old, living on an income base, and sit there and say, well, you're going to get charged a recreation fee. Yes, they have some responsibility, but at the same time, they're not responsible for all of it. So for here, my programs consist of my summer camp, which is, you know, we charge $440 a kid. My town charges $175 a kid. For the same exact program, same exact hours, same exact length. But again, us being not strictly tax-based, we have to charge it more. But we also offer, in my opinion, a better program because of it. You know, we make sure that because I'm charging you more money, we're gonna offer you more activities for these kids to utilize. Versus sit there and say, well, you know, we're gonna make $175, but it's gonna cost us $500 to run this program. So the tax people are gonna pay for it. For us, it's going to cost you $435, and it's going to cost you $435, and taxpayers aren't going to pay for it. It just makes you a better organization. It makes your director work a little bit harder for what's got to be done, but also I think what it does is it allows him to be in the community. You know, so his job not just being a recreation director, his job is to be a public relations director, somebody who talks to the community and talks to the citizens and being a spokesperson for all the organizations. You know, and how we set it up here is being a nonprofit, you have a board of directors. You know, they have the HYA, who kind of heads up all the sports organizations, and then you have the boards below them for individual sports organizations. And if you're looking to go to a 501c3, and again, I'm a believer of it, you know, those are the people who you want to be on the recreation board. They will be the advisor committee or the director's boss, depending on how you set it up. And then you want to have a cross-pollination. Again, you want to have some seniors on the board. You want to have some people who are my age or John's age, who kids have kind of gone on to college, but still want to be active in the organization and have activities for them. So you don't want just youth people on the board, you want everybody on the board. But the best run boards, in my opinion, are people who are special interest. They were going to push the director a little bit farther, a little bit harder.
When you say special interest, Ryan, what do you mean specifically?
So special interest is you have kids who are soccer players. So their parents are going to be mentally prepared just to think of soccer. Mm-hmm. You have kids who are baseball players, so their parents are more solely developed to baseball and basketball and so forth. So you have those parents who sit there and say, well, my kid does this, so I want this part of it. But collectively, bring them all together, they take the population as a whole, and they begin to realize that we can do all this, but we can make sure everything is done properly for all these other sports as well, or all these other activities. So a parent will push harder for what their kids do than what the kid doesn't do. So if he's in dance, so you have a dance program or a music program, but his kids are driven to sports, they're going to push more for sports than to have these. But you want people over here that will push just as hard. So again, everything's being done for everybody. You just don't have programs set up for sports programs, and you forget about the kids who aren't as involved in sports, but they're more involved in the arts programs.
Right.
So you want to make sure those people are utilizing the activity in the facility if you build a community center. You know, because what happens is, as all directors do, after a while they become complacent. And really by going to a nonprofit, you really take out the complacency of it, where he's continuing to look what's in the best interest of the community. And not that all, but I think after a directive of 20 years, you begin to fall, and this worked, so I'm not really going to push that much harder unless you have somebody to kind of lighten the fire underneath them to continue to push it.
So what's the incentive, though, for this director to work harder? Is it he's got to answer to the board?
Well, there's two incentives. So one, you got to answer to the board, but you can also make it a financial incentive. So really, okay, so your budget's at $250. So if you make $300,000, because nonprofit, you can do bonuses. So you can manipulate the system a little bit. So you make $300,000. Well, we're not going to give you the 50, but we'll give you from 250 to, we'll come up with the next percentage points. No different than a business. And really that's what he's striving for, is the more money he makes, the more programs you can offer. The more programs he can offer, the more money he should make. So it's kind of the wheel that kind of chases it around. No different. My board offers bonuses here. Not a lot, but enough to keep me sitting there and say, yeah, I'm going to go work a little harder. Or, but you have to find the right guy's mentality too. Some guys just are built more like me who get bored after 5 minutes and decides to do something different. You kind of build the program up versus somebody who sits there and says, I've done what I want to do today, I'm good.
Right.
So really, it really depending on who you want to hire.
So I would almost say, just from listening to you, Ryan, that organizationally, we have a model already working in Hooksett, the HYAA model. That it's really organizationally, if you took that same model of HYAA and added features to it like arts and travel for seniors and senior activities, and basically paid the position instead of having all volunteer.
Correct.
You basically have the model you're working with under right now.
Correct. Absolutely.
So it may be a smooth transition for a Hooksett to have this model and under its umbrella have HYA to start with.
Yep.
And HYA would just be in charge of all of the sports.
Correct.
And then they can move on from there. So eventually, the folks that are taking their time being on these boards, and they're also mostly your coaches,
correct,
could focus most of their time then on coaching instead of running the business.
Correct.
And I think that's the goal, and would be the goal for Hooksett, and it should be the goal for HYA as well. Get out of the business of organizing the sports, get more into the business of the coaching and the day-to-day operations.
Yep.
All right, that's
and
great.
then what you do, and then from there, probably my guess is, I don't know if HYAA is the insurance umbrella, or if each sport has their own insurance policy.
I think, I'm not sure.
But what you can do, if you begin to go that pyramid, and you have the hierarchy of the HYA, and say he's the president now, the director of the 501c3, by having them oversee everything, all you need is one insurance policy. So everything now falls underneath the 501c3. We have a general liability insurance here that covers all my sports except for tackle football. But every other sport that I offer, on my property, off my property, covers all liability of programs.
Interesting.
So, again, you go general liability, we pay about $9,000 a year for insurance to cover all and the facility and the property and all of that. So really, at that point, again, that's something that you should find out if they all have their own insurance, because if that's the case, I think you're quadruple paying or whatever.
Sure.
To put everything underneath the one insurance umbrella.
Yep. Okay, that's a good point. All right, so we're back outside now, and we're going to take a look at the actual splash pad itself. This is a smaller version that they have up here in Conway, but Ryan's going to just tell us a few things about the particulars of his pad.
Sure. So for us, again, we're 24 feet long by 16 feet wide. We have 6 different jets that come out that go from varying heights of 4 feet to 6 feet. What kids like to do is they like to put their body parts over the holes, and so everything is generated, so the water will get higher as less holes are being flowed out. In the center of it, by the picnic tables, you have one major jet that goes about 12 feet high, 10 to 12 feet high, and then on the 2 sides of it, everything drains towards the middle. Everything drains into the middle of the pad for us, and it goes down into what we call catch basins, dry wells. And then that's how the water percolates back into the ground and back out to the Saco River. So we replenish the water that we take from the facility. Around the facility, what we do is we have a couple things that we put down that says slippery when wet, that you put down onto the onto the concrete, that allows people to make sure that they don't walk, but as well as we have a permanent sign that's on the facility. And then when we talked about it earlier, we have our good old-fashioned switch. That's a 15-minute timer that people have to come over to, turn the timer, and she fires up, and she turns off after the timer's done. Something like this with us, we painted it.
All right, so we just picked up after a new battery recharge, and Ryan's going to continue on with his presentation.
So again, one of the things I've really tried hard to recommend to you guys is, if you look at my pad here, it is concrete. It is kind of barbaric. We do paint pictures on it, but again, I would strongly encourage you to spend the extra money up front to put down the rubber pad. Really, the rubber pad will sit on top of the dirt. Might be some crushed stones underneath it, but it allows for water to trickle through. Versus everything right now runs into the center of my pad. For that, well, depending on what kind of system you run. If you run a closed system that runs through circulating pumps and chlorine and stuff like that, you'll have water get drained into a certain area. If you run an open system where it's just fresh water coming in, everything will go trickle down into wherever the pad comes through.
So talk a little bit about that construction, Ryan. So there is nothing under here like drainage pipes. It's just what, like a dry well type of a setup?
Correct. So we have everything runs into the center. Our dry well is pretty much where you're standing right there. So it comes out, pumps right into my dry well. The dry well is about 15 feet deep, right on top of sand. And we do have an overflow pipe that takes you down the hill, but we have never touched it. The dry well itself is, it really just absorbs all the water every day. And then it trickles into the ground, and then over time it will go right back into the Saco River. Again, there's a couple of things you can do with it if you were one of the ones who wanted to put irrigation off of it. Again, using fresh water, you can't use it with chlorine water. Where at one point we talked about doing an irrigation system and using the fresh water and pumping it out. You could possibly do that. It's going to cost you more money just because now you need pumps and you need things of that nature. But it's a way to recycle the water.
Sure.
For us, it wasn't something that we wanted to do at that moment.
Okay.
Again, it all depends on how you're going to circuit. If you're going to do a closed system, everything's going to flow into one of those drainage holes that you constantly just running water. It's going to cost you more money. But again, it's how you guys set it up.
So the takeaways for me from what you've said so far is definitely go with the rubber pad versus concrete.
Absolutely.
For safety reasons, maintenance reasons, non-slip reasons. A little bit of more cost than the front end, but it's well worth it in the far end. And then the second thing is, I don't think we had thought a lot about is this continuous running system versus a recirculated system. And there you're saving the cost on somebody having to monitor the system and maintain it, where you just have the free flow of water from the water department. And you're conserving water by having your timer. Basically, somebody has to always go over and reset that 15-minute timer. So if there's nobody here enjoying the park, there's nobody running the water.
That's correct.
And when it's busy, people have to just go over and run that timer, but it's a human intervention to make that water run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what it doesn't waste it. Back when we first set it up, we would have somebody staffed where they come in, turn the water line on 10 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, regardless of what the weather was, regardless of how many people were in the park. And it was just a waste of water. Working with the treatment plant here, the water plant, that was one of the suggestions they put in, and it made perfectly good sense. We reduced our water by about 25% from what it was, but again, my longevity is also 2 months longer than what it was too, because by having somebody here, by staffing it, when they went back to school, I didn't have the staff anymore, so we shut down the pad. By having it on the timer, I'm able to go longer in the seasons to keep it open to the general public.
It's a great idea. All right, so I think we've got everything we wanted to cover about the splash pad. So why don't we take a little tour of the community center, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
All right. So here it is, right in back of me. And how many square feet did you say this thing was?
9,900 square feet, just under 10.
Just under 10,000 square feet. So just a little bit on fundraising. This is a field down here. I'm just going to show you. It's pretty impressive. It's called the Hog Coliseum. And maybe, Ryan, you can tell us a little about the fundraising and what Hog Coliseum is all about.
Sure. So Hog Coliseum was built back in the early 80s. One of our fundraisers that we do is called Mud Football. It's a two-hand touch that gets probably closer to two-hand push by the end of the weekend, but it's a 12-team tournament that plays two-hand touch football in the mud. So what we do every year, we rototill this mud up and we flood it with hose from the fire department, and the mud is anywhere between knee deep to mid-shin deep. The teams pay an entry fee, $1,500 entry fee. There's 3 nonprofits that work on this. Myself, the North Conway Community Center, the Bond Center, or the North Conway Daycare, and then the Carroll County Retired Senior Volunteer Program. This event, 3-day event, will bring in about $15,000 just to us, but for the 3 major nonprofits and the other nonprofits, it's about a $30,000 weekend for us. Some of the other fundraisers we do a golf tournament, one-day hitter, over right here behind us at the North Conway Country Club. Again, that's about a $15,000 weekday for us, as well as we team up with the Conway Rec Department and we do the 4th of July event by selling food for the event where they put on the entertainment and the fireworks. And they bring in other nonprofits. So 4th of July, you have probably 12 to 15 nonprofits working that together. You know, and again, you know, between those three things, we do a breakfast with Santa. We do some craft fairs here on site. You know, those are my fundraisers. Some of the things that we do for rentals is we team up with the indoor soccer program. We rent out the space for indoor soccer. We do craft fairs that we rent out the space to. We do tent sales. So we do the ski sale that's out here for about 3 weeks. Being a prime location, we pay pretty good money for it. But again, you bring local vendors, local people who might not use your facility as a recreation space, but will use the facility for something else. Again, as a profit space, they all give back to the facility one way or the other.
Sure. All right, thank you. Okay, Ryan, we had a little private conversation while we were waiting for the battery to charge, and I think it's an important piece of how your nonprofit ties into the town itself and its budget.
Correct. So, again, I probably should have stated this earlier, but how it works is we still meet with the local budget members of the town. We have to present our budget to the budget committee. They still have the right to approve it or disapprove it, but either way, if they approve or disapprove, it still goes to the voters. So the citizens every year has to approve the budget or disapprove the budget. For us, how it works is we have probably enough money in the coffers that will allow us for 2 years of the voters not approving us, really to change the perception if we do get poor report. And that's really what it is, a very poor report on what we do here for the community center, to change their opinions. You know, we've always lucked out with last year we were at 79% approval rating, 21% non-approval rating. You're not going to make everyone happy every year, but we do try to make the majority happy.
So I think you told me that you basically, it's in the form of a warrant article every year. Is that correct?
Correct. So we have to submit a warrant article to the town, get 25 petitions that allows us to be on the town warrants for the votings in April, and then from there it gets approved. We get our money. If it's not, then we need to go back to the drawing boards.
So it's a really good feedback mechanism between you and the town, and it's the town telling you they still approve of what you're doing and they want to give you money to continue. And you said that money they give you here is what, about $65,000?
$65,000, yeah.
And it started off, you used to get $85,000, you reduced what your needs were from the town, is that correct?
Correct. So when we built the facility, we were down at about $75,000, and we had that budget for about the last 18 years. This past year, because of the new facility and what we were able to generate for funds, we were able to reduce our funds to $65,000.
That's a great model. All right, let's take a tour of the facility. All right, so here we are. Ryan's going to show us his beautiful basketball court. It's being freshly cleaned. See if I can sneak in here without getting it too dirty.
So this space is a 60 by 80 space. And it houses a a middle school regulation basketball court, which is 48 feet wide by 74 feet long. 6 baskets. It's poured rubber. So back in the day with the rubber floors, they used to come in mats. This is a poured rubber, so it will never rip. We do craft fairs in here. We do breakfast with Santa. Highly recommend this type of floor versus the wood floor.
What else? Is this where you do pickleball?
This is where we do pickleball. This is where we do indoor soccer. We play indoor field hockey in here. Basketball. You can play floor hockey if you so choose. We have square dancing in here. We have, you name it. Again, the reason why we went this floor is because you can do anything on it.
So that's a poured rubber floor.
Correct.
Okay. So it seems like you're a proponent of rubber material.
Over wood.
Yep. Very good.
And again, it reduces the maintenance. Every year you need to maintain a wood floor by stripping it and varnishing it. Literally with the poured rubber, we just clean it.
Okay.
This is our conference room. Where all the major minds in this town thinks. Not really, but it can seat 12 comfortably around the conference table. We have a projection screen and projector and a screen that comes down. The facility itself, the swim itself, can seat about 20 people comfortably. It is 16 feet wide, 16 feet long by 12 feet wide.
16 by 12. Does this get used quite a bit?
It does.
Yep.
It does.
And I noticed there was on the outside of the room there was a plaque with someone's name on it. Is that for people who donate money?
Correct. That's for the people who donated to the capital campaign.
Okay.
So this room cost, the person who donated this room was somebody who donated about $75,000.
All right. Excellent. We have 2 full-size bathrooms for the men and the women.
This is our multi-purpose room. Most activities happen in here. This is a 24 by 24. We do tango in here. We do Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, squeaky sneakers. Anything that gets messy is in here because it comes off the floor.
What kind of a floor is this, Ryan?
Tile floor.
Tile.
You're getting something that you have a high use on. You don't want to overflow in that regards. Tile's the best way to go because it's the easiest thing to clean up.
Looks like you've got good, well-insulated vinyl windows.
Good, well-insulated vinyl windows, but I think we're in R46 on the roof and R19 or R20 on the walls.
And we've got a flat panel TV mounted. Is there any kind of a hookup for that? Or is that just a cable television or something?
Smart TV.
Smart TV?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
Excellent.
we have Medicaid meetings in here that will start in here. We have, they just started a capital campaign for a track that you love.
John Lyscars. I'm back in Hooksett, New Hampshire after a great day spent up in North Conway checking out the community center and their splash pad and getting some great ideas from their director Ryan. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions about what else I might have heard up there that's off the video, please feel free to contact me at helphooksethhighkids@gmail.com or 603-340-0688 is my cell phone number. Have a great day.